Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, Public Works and Planning Committee. First, we'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Cush,
Present.
Commissioner Peay,
Here.
Commissioner Peay,
Here.
Commissioner James,
Here.
Commissioner Dodd,
Here.
Commissioner Boyd,
Here.
Chairman Johnson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, first on the agenda, we'll approve the minutes. Vice Chairman Phil Dodd.
Thank you, Chairman. I've read the minutes, found to be in order, and make a motion for their approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of our last month's meeting. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Public comments, we have one. Mrs. Allen, Mrs. Susan Allen, speaking on solid waste. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Susan Allen. I live on Nelson Lane in Murfreesboro. And I'm here tonight to express my gratitude to Bishop Wagener as he prepares to leave his job as the County Solid Waste Director. Over the years, our community has benefited from his depth of experience, his professional expertise, and he's done so much to improve the workings of the Solid Waste Department. I personally am especially grateful for the single stream recycling that I use almost every week. That's available at every single convenience center. Bishop had to work hard to convince some of the importance of getting the county to a point where we would not be forced into allowing the expansion of Middle Point landfill. We now have a transfer station that will serve our needs until Plan A can be achieved, and I hope that this committee will get busy on that. Our local governments are stronger when we recognize and acknowledge the contributions of highly qualified individuals like Bishop. So tonight, I simply want to say thank you to Bishop for your service, your professionalism, and your dedication to our community. We wish you well and hope that your example will remind us to recognize the value and expertise of those who serve us. Thank you.
Thank you. And next on the agenda, we have Commissioner Harris wanted to speak on the grants that he's looking at. One is a brownfield grant, recycle equipment grant, and waste management grant. Welcome.
Commissioners, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'm asking for a request to proceed on some grants. One of them is the Brownfield Redevelopment Area Grant, and this is conservation of agricultural, recreational, open space for redevelopment or properties. It could be contaminated. We're asking that Walter Hill Dam, that this study will get the money to do a study on any contamination of Stones River at the Walter Hill Dam. So this is a non-match, so it'll be fully funded by them. And do you want me to do all of them together or separate?
I think one at a time.
One at a time? And I'm asking to apply for that, to send this to budget.
That's on the brownfield.
Brownfield Redevelopment Area Grant.
Hey, any questions? Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you, Chairman. And thanks, Greg, for bringing this up to us. What's the amount?
Up
For
to
the brownfield.
500,000 maximum.
I think you said it. And your expectation is that this is an opportunity to clean up the park. The outcome will be, if there is issues, will this help fix it or just do the study?
No, this will do the study, but it also will be applied to fixing it as well.
Mr. Peay.
Well, I was going to say, I've been studying up on this myself, and there's like 4 steps under the brownfield that you can apply for. Investigation is the first step, and that's basically what he's asking for. You know, the final step would be remediation. You know, there's an investigation, and then you look at what exactly is going on, see if it can identify what's there, what's causing the problem, and then where is that source coming from. And to me, this is very important. It's something I'm actually want to speak on it here in a few minutes myself, but since CUD's here, certainly is a good time to bring this up, because the water that CUD is pumping to our houses are coming out of this same stream over there. At any rate, I'll show you some signs here in a minute where we're cautioned not to eat the fish because the water is contaminated above certain levels, and that's posted by TDEC. Anyway, I think this is pretty much a no-brainer here to at least try to find what the problem is. Now, sometimes some of the problems can be runoff from rainwater and agricultural. So there's a lot of different things out there. It's not just, you know, the fact that we've got 2 landfills upstream of that area.
Any other questions? Mr. James?
Does this grant have any stipulations that go along, like if you find markers within certain limits?
You have to be a subdivision of the state, which we are, a county.
That's the only.
Yep.
Question.
Mr. Piercy?
Who's funding this grant?
State of Tennessee Waste Management Agency, I believe. Waste Management, Robert, help me out here. I can't.
It's TDEC.
TDEC, yeah.
Coming from, and these are state funds, so they're not going to be affected by the, you know, all like we're seeing on some of the federal grants. But this is state funding from TDEC.
Anyone else?
Don't have a question. I'll make a motion that we send this to budget. Okay, go ahead.
If the committee doesn't mind, Director Wagener has some input on this that he'd like to speak. Any objections? Okay. Welcome, Director.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioners, so I do have a couple items on this. I do not disagree with the necessity or the usefulness of a brownfield. However, I do have some serious concerns over the genesis of this request, considering this would be a request that would come out of a budget that is not controlled by anyone other than the Solid Waste Department. This would be something that, although it is a no-match grant, the funds would have to go through the Budget Committee, they would have to go through the full commission, and I think that there's a step that's being jumped by presenting it in this manner. Also, a brownfield, as I understand it, which I probably understand it better than anyone else in this room, is about dry earth. It is not a river cleanup or a river contamination project at all. It is about impacted soil that would be that is identified through a phase 1, phase 2, and then a remediation project. And in this instance, remediating at Walter Hill would not affect what the river or determine what constituents were added into that. It is a good thing for something like Bridgestone. If you're going to reclaim Bridgestone's property and take it out of hot contaminated soil, replenish that soil, and build another development on, it is not necessarily for the use that it has been described here. And I would probably want to look a little bit more at it scientifically before we went into an investment with the county dollar that could be up to $500,000. That's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Harris, correct me if I'm wrong.
First of all, I mean, anyway, it's applying for a grant. We're not accepting anything. We're just simply applying for the grant.
And also, we're not jumping committees. This would be the first committee it would come to, and then we would send it to budget. And it's a no match. The county's not matching any.
The point of order is that the solid waste director should...
Excuse me, Director, you're out of order. You are out of order. Now, committee, it's obvious we're not jumping any committees. We're trying to get it through the right committees, go through here,
As you know,
to budget.
Mr. Chairman, I am all about committees. This committee is over solid waste.
Right.
Bishop, as far as not getting with him on this, I mean, Bishop resigned. So I never did decide, never even thought about calling him. If I offended you, I apologize. I didn't mean it.
Continue, Commissioner.
Anyway, I'm just simply doing, I believe that we should go through the committees out of respect. I did not want to send this to budget without your permission. If you reject this, I understand. I accept whatever you do, but it should go through this committee first.
Commissioner Peay.
Well, our retiring solid waste director is probably correct about brownfield. However, I've talked to personnel at TDEC today and spoke specifically about brownfield and was told that it was a possibility that they would look at it. I don't know, if that would come to reality, but there are also grants for water quality, stream, and restoration grants, which might do the same thing for us. And I don't know what Chairman Harris is going to say next, but that's another one that we could possibly look into. A lot of this is coming from the recent trip that I took to East Tennessee on the sustainability conference and dealing with the people that are professionals working with solid waste, all the different problems and recycling. But anyway, one of the things that came out of this was these brownfield grants and grants that they've got, and there are others. Anyway, unless there's someone else who wants to make a comment, I want to make a motion to approve this and send it forward to the budget to
I have a
allow us
comment.
to apply for a brownfield grant as it comes available.
I have a comment if it can be put in front of his motion. If not, there's no need of me saying a word.
May I make the second so that we can have a discussion?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now we have discussion.
The agenda I got on my email looks identical to number 3. It says grants, Commissioner Harris, no definition of what was coming, no information on what was coming, where you could have looked it up if you didn't know, or called Mr. Harris and asked him, what are you doing?
True.
For me, I think this should be tabled to the next meeting, and the people here like myself that's not familiar with this grant have an opportunity to look into it and then see if it's worth going after to apply. I very well understand this is only to apply, but I really don't think we had the time or the exposure to what we're being asked to do right here.
Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Harris, who would fill out the application? What department, what person?
It would be Alyssa. She would apply for it.
Our professional grant writer?
Yes, sir. I'm not coming here trying to start anything. I'm simply just saying apply for a grant that could look into possible contamination of Stones River. Commissioner Piercy, I do not see how that's a bad thing. I do respect that it wasn't on the agenda, and if you want to look at that, I mean, I have no problem, but I'm just simply asking to apply. I do not want to bypass this committee.
Mr. James.
Yeah, I appreciate the concept of it, but like Mr. Piercy said, all I got was the agenda, and I even called our chairman today who didn't know what to tell me about this. I'd like to know more, but I don't see
I did tell you.
point of correction. No, you
Move along.
point of correction. You did not know. I'm just agreeing with Mr. Piercy that perhaps we should defer this or at least have it come back. It makes sense to have time to read it, to figure out what these grants are without other than, even here, it's not even on our iPad for us to dig into the details. We got some basic details, and it does sound promising. But you can always have more information. It would be great to have some.
What Commissioner Harris is asking for tonight is for us to move this forward to budget. There's plenty of time between now and going to budget to dig into it if you want to dig into it. If you want to table it and bring it back, I don't have a problem with that, but we do have a motion on the floor now to move it forward.
Well, was there a deadline on it, on this grant?
There's no deadline on it, other than,
I didn't know if they...
Actually, there is, Mr. Chairman, it's September 26th.
Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Harris, if it were to pass through tonight and pass through budget, would the full commission hear it and have
Yes.
a second round or a third round of opportunities for questions? Could it be posted between now and budget on the SharePoint?
Yes.
An actual application, or
Yes.
if the chairman of budget might suggest that, just,
I have no problem at all. Alyssa would be filling this out. I wasn't aware about the deadline, but, if it is, I think the sooner we can apply. Some of these are cyclic. There may be more come back next year. In fact, there's some that we've missed that I found out about at the conference that I want to speak about a little bit. But, as far as giving the information to y'all, basically all that there is to know is that the TDEC has some brownfield grant money available, and you have to apply for that. Basically, you have to be a subsidiary of the state of Tennessee. Our government is to qualify. The maximum amount on this would be $500,000. That's basically the bare bones of it. What they would do, they would probably hire engineers to go out and test the sites, because they're basically doing investigation. And that's only, if it's accepted, it would still come back here again. So, like I said, this is a request to apply for the grant.
Yeah, and just follow up on that, if we do get granted this, it has to go back through here to accept it, it has to go back through budget to accept it, it has to go full commission. So it'd be 6 meetings to accept this. So we're just simply asking to apply, and that's my only request.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding if you apply for a grant, even if you get it, you don't have to accept it.
Correct.
And like Commissioner Harris said, we'll be going through all the other committees and then back here too. We have the bare bones right now, what we're applying for.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Peay.
I'd like to make a request for our IT people. I'd ask them to put a picture up that I sent them. Can you put that up on the screen right now? That is one of about 3 postings down at the Walter Hill Dam Recreation Area. And you'll notice that's posted by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. And it's basically saying this body of water contains contaminants at levels thought to increase the risk of cancer or other serious illnesses in humans. Now, guys, that's where we're getting our drinking water. Y'all not think it's important that we try to figure out what contaminants are in this water that are causing this problem? That's what we're asking for.
Any other discussion?
Just to clarify, those signs have been up 3 to 5 years. Been there quite a while.
Back when I fished quite a bit 30 years ago, we also had signs that were similar to that. But fact remains, the water's getting worse. Hey, any other discussion? Okay. No further discussion? We'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Commissioner Pearcy? No. Commissioner Peay?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman,
Chairman Phillips.
thank you. Is this going to budget Thursday night, this Thursday night? I would suggest, and it's just a suggestion, I'm not sure that it's even doable, but our environmental attorney, along with our county attorney, look at this grant and be able to explain the grant in a little bit more detail Thursday night. You think that would maybe be appropriate?
I have no problem with that at all. In fact, I welcome any input they might have. Like I said, that sign says it all to me. I want to address that problem. If there's something we can do to correct it, you know, this grant money is available, I think that's something we should look at. It may turn out that, like Director Wagener has said, that the brownfield will not cover anything in the stream, but there may be other grants available under water conservation through TDEC again, and I want to pursue any of those grants that will help us do that.
Just to move it forward, Commissioner Harris, do you want to call Nick? I'll be happy to, or Chairman Johnson, either one, to call Nick quickly, maybe tomorrow, and seem to know a little bit more about it, and ask if they could examine the content of that proposed grant and report on to budget Thursday night as to what's really in the grant, what it would cover, and what would be the benefit to the county for doing that. Our environmental attorney is very astute and has helped us through a lot of problems in the past. So hopefully they could take a look at it over the next couple of days, and it's a real short time frame. They may not be able to do it, but Craig, could you call Nick in the morning? And
Sure.
Thanks.
If it's all right with the budget, Chairman. Good.
Okay, next one.
Okay. The other grant that I'm asking for is, I will be coming out with a solid waste plan that I'll be presenting to this commission in the this committee in the near future. One thing that I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to concentrate on recycling, which will be working with Recycle Rutherford and the regional board, as well as other industries. I'm also wanting to do private-public partnerships, and I'm also want to do rail. No one has brought that up. Rail is expensive. However, it's 30-year contract, so it'll give us a better understanding of the forecast for any cost that comes our way. This is my plan. This is not anything else but me. This grant that I'm asking for will be a grant to do a study on putting a MRF in our county. As you know, recycling, we can do so much as education. We as a city, as a county, cannot do ordinances or anything like that, but if a MRF is something that would really benefit this county, this is a study on it. That's all this is I'm asking for, is for them to do a study on it and see if it benefits Rutherford County, which I feel that it will. I'm wanting to look into bringing industry here and partnership with them, own stuff like a MRF, and try to work and make pay for the MRF through recycling, and probably do it through donation of land or a grant like this. There is a grant that comes with it if we accept it. I'm not applying for that tonight. It would help in that equipment, so in that building, but I'm not asking for that at all. I'm just simply asking for a study to see if a MRF is adequate for Rutherford County.
And who would be doing this study?
It'd be state of Tennessee. I believe it's called the Waste Management Grant.
Is there funding?
On the, I don't know,
On
I
our
think,
side.
I think it is a match. I think Mike, what it was, we missed the date, so it'll come back around, but the last one I think was, I think is 25 or 50%. I'm gonna say 50%.
Any idea on the cost?
No, sir.
50% of,
And you said we missed the date. What's the date that we missed?
It was September 1st, I believe. That it'll be coming up again.
How often? Is it just annual or quarterly or how
I
often?
think it's semi.
Any other questions? Commissioner Peay.
Don't have a question, maybe a comment here. Again, at the conference I went to, many of these different grants were mentioned. And this was one of them. Sullivan County took advantage of this, and they did a RFP study that the grant helped pay for. And they actually have set up a small MRF that they plan to expand. So they actually built the MRF with the idea of expanding into a larger MRF as either needed or, and basically what they did, they started off doing like cardboard and glass, something easy, and will develop into the other ones. They used some of their ARPA funds, which was provided by the county government there, also the grant funding. Once you, if you decided to, say you did a study, and that's basically what he's asking for, you do a study, and then you say, well, do we need to do this? Do we need to do this in conjunction with a private partnership, public partnership? Or do we need to hire somebody else to do this outside? Or do we even need to do it at all? Basically, it's answering the question for us. You know, I personally am tired of digging a hole in the ground, throwing trash in it and covering it up, or paying to haul it off to another hole in the ground and having it covered up. I talked to the director there from Sullivan County, don't recall his name, but he told me basically they're soliciting outside of their counties garbage, municipal waste, and sorting that. And he told me, he just pulled me aside, he said, well, right now, he says, I'm charging $45 a ton. Well, y'all been keeping up with tonnage cost around here. I thought that was kind of interesting to hear, but I basically think what they are doing, and I hadn't dug into his facility that much, is they're basically doing this on their own. Kind of like Sevierville, I think, you know, their composting facilities done by their county. I think Sullivan County is doing this as a county agency and hiring, I mean, all the people that are working there are government employees for them. Anyway, the way I understand this, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're asking to apply for a grant to do a study to see if we need a MRF or how big a MRF or whatever.
Yes, sir.
When it becomes available, because it's not available right now.
No, probably be, I'm thinking 6 months to a year, or it comes back up.
I feel on this one, we should probably defer this at least 30 days to come up with better numbers or understanding of the numbers. It's got to match. We don't know if it's 25 or 50% of what amount.
The last one was 50%.
Last one was 50%.
Yes.
Oh, so what amount would that have been?
Yes. On the study,
Yes.
I would probably say the study would be somewhere between 20 to 50,000, I would believe.
And then we don't know when the next date is. You think maybe 6 months. So that says we have time to lock down some of these other answers, to lock in more reasonable numbers and timelines. and to be ready to apply then. I don't know, it's a good idea. I think anybody in the county thinks that we need a MRF, need to have a recycling center separated. They need to figure out what size. But having a matching grant like that and being left open-ended, I'm not comfortable with that. I'd like to have some kind of number, even if it's $1. I'd like to at least know what the number would be that we'd have to match. So if there's not any other questions.
Yeah, I'm just simply asking to apply for the grant. Like I said, if it gets approved, has to come back through here again. We missed our date, so we just want to, through my conversation with Alyssa is to, to get on this and be ready for it. So we don't miss this again.
I applaud you for finding this one and bringing this one to us. I'm just wondering, would 30 days be enough time for you to help us lock
Yes.
down the number? Well, that would be my motion, would be to defer this 30 days and bring this back up next month.
Well, I mean, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to come here. I just feel, I am, a lot of people always ask me about my solid waste plan, and they just assume that I'm for expansion, and I'm 3 parts. This is what I'm going to be talking about for the next year. This is what I'm trying to do. When I give my plan, I want to make sure I tell you how much, and that you know exactly what it's going to cost the taxpayers. And I want to apply for as many grants as I can to get money in to help offset some of those costs. Whether we accept them or not is 100% up to the commission. And this is just simply me trying to implement a plan, and I feel that a MRF is the answer for our solid waste, and that's what I am doing and pursuing.
Okay, I heard a motion, I never heard a second, so that fails for lack. Because we got a late second.
You didn't hear this second?
I just did.
I didn't hear what you said.
You did it earlier?
No. You said you didn't hear second, and I just went second. I didn't hear what you said after.
Yeah, what I was saying, I was about to say, with a lack of a second, it fails, but then you seconded it, yes, yes. Okay, we have a motion and a second to defer for 30 days.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. James? 30 days, is that what you said?
Yes, Chairman, 30 days to get the numbers for the match.
Okay, discussion.
I personally don't see the reason for doing that. First of all, the grant's not available, but we want to make people aware here that these grants will become available, and I want us to be able to take advantage of these. This is exactly what Sullivan County did. They got the grant to do an RFP, see what it would cost. You don't even know what it's going to cost you. You're asking about cost. It's prorated across the state by the size of your county. Since we're 4th largest county now, we're right there with Metro and Memphis and Knoxville. We pay a 50% match grant on this particular grant. It's my understanding from talking to Alyssa today. If you're Sequatchie County, McMurray, and you may pay as little as 10%, but evidently it's prorated on population. So I can't tell you exact figures, and until you see the grants, all I see him asking for is, here's some grants, some money that would save us money to look into, do we want to build a MRF? What would be the pros and cons of that? And until we actually have one in hand, once we do, it'll come back for a vote here. Basically, he's asking for permission to go ahead and apply when it becomes available. And when it becomes available, it's got to come right here. So I see, we can wait 30 days. You could probably wait 90 days. I don't know when the grant's going to become available again, but if it does, in the meanwhile, why don't we say, hey, let's look at it? Because it's not going to cost us anything to apply for the grant. It's going to cost us if we decide to go with it, and we'll have the money we'll know what it will cost us at that time. So having said that, I'll make a motion to approve us
No,
applying for the grant.
We have a
when it's
motion.
available.
We have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
This is
You did do
discussion
that
of the
second.
motion.
Excuse me, Commissioner, I'm sorry. I withdraw that, of course.
Commissioner Piercy.
I've become quite confused on this whole operation right here. Now, I've been here a while. People here have been here longer than I have. They've seen more on this floor than I have. But the time I've spent here, permissions, requests for grants are made by department heads, not individual commissioners. Is that not right?
No, it's not.
I've never witnessed a commissioner ask for a permission to ask for a grant. It's always a department head.
I've asked for grants before. This ain't the first time I've done this.
Was it for the trash?
No, I mean, if you,
Not that I'm
Commissioner
trying to be
Piercy, I don't
difficult, but I think
understand.
this is kind of getting
I'm not trying to,
way out in the weeds.
I want to commend Commissioner Harris for finding these grants and presenting them. I agree with both of them. I like both of them. My only hiccup on this one is having a match, an unknown amount that could potentially match. And even though if it is just to apply for, it puts my vote and the people I represent on the clock, so to speak, for a potential amount that they might have to pay out of their tax money that we don't know. And that unknown answer or unknown question is what I'm looking for the answer for. Why a 30-day? That's why I asked him if 30 days would be enough time to get a rough number. So I'm just personally not comfortable representing my constituents spending or risking spending a match money that I have no idea how much it is, whether it's $1 or $1 million. And that's why I made the motion I did.
By applying for the motion, you're not putting anyone on the hook for the amount of money. It's when it comes back and you have it before you to vote on that amount, you'd vote it up or down, deciding whether to put them on the hook for the money.
I
Not right
understand that,
now.
but for the
But
3
that was
years
a
I've sat on
misquote.
this one, I've never had a grant, to my recollection, come back with a match that did not have a number that could go with it, and we moved it on to apply.
That's exactly what I just said. It'll come back with the number.
But
It will come back with, you're correct now. It will come back with a number if it goes. Any more discussion? Okay, the motion was Commissioner James. You made the motion? To table it for 30 days? Okay. Any further discussion on that? Tabling for 30 days. Okay. Call the roll.
Commissioner Piercy? Yes. Commissioner Peay?
Yes.
Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
No.
Chairman Johnson?
Aye.
Motion passes to defer 30 days.
Mr. Chairman, can I request that I will get with Commissioner Peay and give him all the information on this and let him present that in the time needed whenever he feels that he necessary to do it, so that I don't have to come back up here again, and he can do that. Again, I apologize to this committee. I did not come up here to cause any dissension or to get a stump speech, Mr. Piercy. I just simply wanted to apply for some grants to see if we could do something on our solid waste. I'm just trying to think outside the box, and there was no intent of anything else. that it?
Okay, I think Commissioner Peay is in favor of doing that. I was getting a nod, so.
I personally just didn't have it back. Okay.
Well, if you would, just both of you work on it together and have a good presentation with all the answers, and I think that'll work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you not have one more that you wanted to get into? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I present now, or you want me to wait till the end?
Yes, because you were going to piggyback on what he was saying. Commissioner Peay had asked me if he could come under other business, and we decided he could just piggyback with Commissioner Harris because it's basically the same idea,
Well,
or information.
right. I basically wanted to give a report about the sustainability conference that I went to. The county allocated funds for some of us commissioners to go. I was able to go. I want to say thank you to all the commissioners. The cost of it was $375. I could have applied for housing and travel and food, but I paid for all of that myself. But the $375 was for the cost of the conference and the meetings there. I have requested that they send me emails containing some of the presentations that I sat through. There's a mayor's conference that I was able to sit in on by request. And basically, it was covering a multitude of different subjects, most of it having to do with recycling, what different counties are doing. For instance, Sullivan County, they're doing their MRF. They're, of course, wanting to expand and continue, and they explained what they did. The city of Knoxville had a lady that works for them that's actually composting for the city of Knoxville. I don't know if you've been on the, not the hill, but there's a kind of a hub where they have a lot of eating facilities, and they're basically taking the food waste from them and composting it. And they were able to procure funding through these grants, similar to what Commissioner Harris is talking about. And what that did is that's paid for all the facilities that they needed to do their composting. And hopefully I'll be able to send all of y'all, if you want it. If you don't want it, let me know. But I'll be sending you that presentation too. But what I found interesting about that particular grant was that that can also go to our schools. For instance, we've got, our high schools have agricultural classes that are teaching using greenhouses, and they're selling plants and things like that. And they probably do some composting there, but there's grants available to build nice composting facilities for them that these schools can apply to. I've spoke to one of the principals, and he's open very much so in looking at that, and I imagine most of them would be, but that would also lower the amount of waste that's going into our landfill. But basically, some of the grants, just to let you know, that I was told about, there are equipment handling grants. For instance, if we decided to do a MRF and we wanted to buy equipment, we could apply for different equipment. There are water quality and stream restoration grants out there. Of course, the brownfield grant that Commissioner Harris spoke about. There's also household recycling and hazardous waste grants, which, you know, we just had one about, a week or two ago here, but they'll help pay for that. There's, like I said, most of these are through TDEC, and the material grants, I think, are around 10% as far as us buying machinery that would help us sort. I think we may have used or got some of those grants for some of the compactors that we bought. I'd have to refer to Director Wagener about that. But basically what I wanted to tell you, there were a lot of people from all over the state there. Their interest is in reducing the amount of waste going into the ground and different ways to do that. I saw quite a few mayors that are there, city mayors and county mayors, couple county commissioners, many of the directors for the different facilities around. Waste Management was there, Republic was there. I'm trying to think of Lincoln came and talked to us. He does construction debris, redwood, hardwood, I forget the name of his company, Rockwood, right, thank you. But he was there, actually was one of the presenters, but I would suggest any of it that can make that in the future or some of the other programs that they have, I would suggest doing it because there's some good ideas came out of that. I think if nothing else, getting our schools to compost there on those facilities would be a big plus, just because that's where a huge amount of food waste comes out of those schools every day. You think about that. But anyway, I wanted to give you all that report and to say thank you for allowing me to go to that. But that's everything I got, unless you got some questions. I will be sending you emails as I get them that have some of these programs that I'm talking about, and you can hear directly from them instead of secondhand through me.
Commissioner Peay, like the grants, like for the ones you gave, just example, the one with the school and the composting, would that be one that we need to get our school board to fill out and apply, or is that something?
Well,
that
them
we
or
would
the
piggyback with each other?
Well, them or the school board, or maybe the specific schools. I don't know which would be the best way to go about that. That's basically what Commissioner Harris was asking for there, to go ahead and look at these grants and let us apply. Now, some of them, right now, the window is closed. We got the information too late, for instance, on these composting grants, but it should be coming back up. And when I hear about them, I'm specifically going to come and say, hey, let's apply for these, or find out whether the school board needs to or a particular school. But like I said, I've spoke with one principal in particular, and he said he'd like to look into it. He thought it'd be something worthwhile if, depending on particulars. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Peay. I'd like to apologize to the committee. When this convention came up, I inquired about it and actually asked one of our well-respected experts on the matter if I should attend. And I was told that basically it was a wares convention or show, and didn't see where I would get anything out of it. So the next one, I'll be there. I won't ask anybody, I'll be there. Sounds like I missed a lot by taking an expert's advice, and I want to apologize to you for that. Okay, now finally, we have CUD. And sorry, guys, for being so long to get to you, but we have Roger Goodson, he's the general manager. We have Alan Stenicki, forgive me if I butchered that, director of engineering. Jason Alexson, assistant director of engineering. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you all. You're not the first one to butcher his name either, so you're okay there. Thank you guys for the opportunity. When you asked to come and present, we were ready to jump at any time. So we're here to just tell you a little bit, about CUD and where we're going in the future and go from there. So I'll let.
You're an engineer for that, don't you?
I do. It is this button, right? There we go. There we go. Just a little bit on the history. Most of you know that the reason we're a consolidated utility district is it's a consolidation of 4 utility districts, or 3 utility districts in the Eagleville water system. From years ago, that was 1968 when we all combined. So we just celebrated our 57th anniversary. There's a couple legislations I'd like to point out to when we do this presentation. The Utility District Law 37, that was when it kind of talked about when utility districts could actually be able to be set up, how many board members, et cetera. And then the Farm Credit Act in 1961, that was actually where the 4 utilities here in Rutherford County really got going. They were able to get a $1 million grant and extend water out into the rural areas. And so that's how they started the 4 of them. So I could go into history forever, but that's not why we're here. That's another presentation. What is a utility district and how is it different from municipality or something? We're a nonprofit quasi-governmental entity. We're governed by a 3-member or a 5-member board of commissioners. Ours are actually 5 members. Those board of commissioners are nominated by the county mayor. We are not a taxing authority. We do not receive any taxes from anybody. All our revenue comes from only rates and fees. So your water bill pays for the water. Our capital investment, that comes from cash, which are our system development fees, our tap or meter fees, or debt that we take out. That's what we do for our capital. And on CUD, we are proud that we are one of 2 AAA-rated bonded utilities in the state. This next one has some good numbers on it. It's some key milestones from when we began to present day. Our water treatment plant started in 1983. It was a 4 million gallon plant. It's been doubled. In 1989, it went to 8. In 2003 to 16. And we finished up in 2020 with a 32 million gallon a day plant that we could do. Our customer accounts, you can see there. In 85, we had 9,000 of them. That was about a month ago, we were at 76,362 customers. Each home is a customer. And out of those 76,000, 37,000 of them are City of Murfreesboro residents. So for those of you that don't know, we service more of Murfreesboro than Murfreesboro Water does. So that's a little fact that not a lot of people know. Miles of water main, 1,530 miles of water main. That's from here to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then you can see pump stations because of the terrain and everything that we have. The reason we went to step systems was because in 1987, we were denied a permit from TDEC, be able to have an outflow into the Stones River. And so we started reviewing different systems. In 97, we got our charter from the Utility Management Review Board, and then Rutherford County also gave us as the sole provider for Rutherford County outside of a municipality. We were also the first with design criteria even before TDEC, and Jason will probably cover, but our design criteria is even more stricter than TDEC's from there. Our future outlook now, I'm going to just cover a little bit on the water supply. Alan's going to cover a little bit more on that, and then Jason's going to do that. So we're the 6th largest utility in the state of Tennessee. We're the largest utility district. With that, our current allocation contract with the United States Army Corps, which we get our water from the J. Percy Priest, which is actually Stones River, but it's considered part of the Stones of the J. Percy Priest. We signed that in 21, and that was based on a 2031 projection of 31.14 million gallons a day. However, Alan's going to show you in a little bit here that with the growth going on in the county, we have this, I reached out. We have initiated a new reallocation study with the Army Corps. We sent that letter in June, and we have partnered with Murfreesboro, Smyrna, and Laverne, and we're calling ourselves the Rutherford County 4. And that's because we wanted to go at it with a regional approach because we all feed Rutherford County, and we all want to make sure that Rutherford County is taken care of in the future. So we just started that process. It's a 3 to 4 to 5 year process depending on the funding and everything for it. We based this on our 2050 growth projections that we ran through the county, and we got from Doug and them for the projections. We anticipate basically doubling in 25 years to 50 million gallons a day average usage and 70 million gallons a day peak. So what does that mean when you only have a 32 million gallon a day plant, right? It means we got to find a place for a new plant, a new plant site, a new water intake, all that. We estimate when we find all that, it will be anywhere from about 150 to 200 million dollars. But again, we have to see how much water we get out of there, and we have other options that we're also looking at besides just the Percy Priest. We're going to look at some ground options. We're working, Alan can touch base, but with Dr. Ogden from MTSU to see what kind of groundwater there is, and also some purchased water stuff. So I'll turn it over to Alan now, and we'll be here to answer questions from the commission when we get there.
Okay. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so these are the 4 bullets I'm going to talk about, or topics I'm going to talk about in the next few slides here. So the first one talks about boundaries between CUD, Smyrna. In particular, the green is Smyrna, the pink is Murfreesboro, the blue polka dots is CUD's service area, so you can see how much we overlap with them. We serve about 20% of the population, or customer counts, I should say, in Smyrna, and about 55% of Murfreesboro. So those boundaries between us and them are fixed. As the city expands with annexation, that does not change the boundary between us and those other utilities. So the overall system map here, we have 16 pressure zones, and throughout the system kind of starts all around the central hub there around Murfreesboro. 2 of the biggest pressure zones on the north side and the south side of Murfreesboro have about 90% of our customers. We have, by comparison, Murfreesboro only has 1 pressure zone and Smyrna has 4. So our water system is a little more complex than theirs. The smallest pressure zones have less than 100 customers each, and 2 of the pressure zones only have 10 customers or less. So it varies quite a bit. And this is just, we're looking at more of a flow diagram with the water plane on the far left and the last pressure zone on the right. So that water gets pumped 5 times before it reaches that last group of customers. All right. Oops. That's a good point. Yep. So this is the demand projections that Roger spoke of. The highlighted year there, it's probably hard to see, is 2031, and that's when our current capacity of our treatment plant of 32 MGD is going to be very near our max day demand. So that would mean having to run that plant at pretty much full tilt 24 hours a day, which is not a practical thing to do, doesn't give you much room for error. So we're definitely trying to increase our supply capacity through potential temporary means until we can get a larger allocation from the Corps of Engineers or some other source. So things that we're looking at are groundwater supplies. Like I said, I've met with Dr. Ogden a couple of times, and we're continuing to pursue potential springs that we could use as water supply, as well as interconnections with other utilities, whether they directly neighbor us or are within a reasonable distance. And just kind of a status of things today. So different, talking about residential lots, the final acceptance stage of projects that are strictly water. So they have Smyrna sewer or Murfreesboro sewer. We have about 630 of those that have been accepted through the first 7 months of the year. 253 that have water in our step systems for a total of about 883. And we have 2 step system treatment plants that have gone online since the first of the year. And then the next line is the same statistics for under construction. Those are not cumulative numbers because obviously one lot that's under construction this month is probably still under construction next month, so that's just a running total. You can see we're what we have under construction is about double what's been accepted, so I would say we're going to end up pretty close this year what we were last year. And also the last row there is the pending construction, so those are plans that have been approved. We're waiting for a few fees to be paid or for them just to call and want to schedule that pre-construction meeting to get the project started. So that's a lot of projects, a lot of lots that are in the hopper that can move forward. All right, perfect. And so our water serviceability requests, you may have heard that term before if you've been around the Planning Commission a little bit. So that's how we look at each project development that comes in to make sure we can supply their domestic water, irrigation, and fire demands. That's how we keep track of when and where we need to build more transmission mains, new tanks, expand pump stations, that kind of thing. Our capital investment is in the $15 to $25 million a year on the water system improvements alone, not counting the step improvements that Jason's going to talk about.
Thank you.
Get those out of there so you don't get them.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm going to assume that most everyone in Rutherford County has an idea of what a step system is. And just for the information, the name comes from what it actually does, how you convey the sewage from the home to the treatment. And that's septic tank effluent pumped. And so this has promoted a lot of growth in the county outside of the urban area of the cities, mainly because you can use a small pocket of soils on a parcel to develop the entire parcel. You don't have to have the soils on every single lot being built. This is a simple schematic of what the system looks like. You can see that from the home, there's a tank at the home that pumps through the collection lines to the treatment, and then after the treatment, we go to the dispersal area. And for CUD, the treatment does include UV disinfection. That's used to inactivate or to kill any bacteria or pathogens. So just a quick overview of where we are right now. As Roger mentioned, we've been operating about 25 years. And so at this point, we have 82 operational step systems, and we just surpassed 9,900 homes that are on step service. So that is steadily growing, and I'm expecting that to surpass 10,000 by the end of the year. And additionally, there are currently over 1,200 available taps in developments on lots that have been developed that have not been built yet. And we currently have 8 approved developments with step plans that have been approved but have not yet started construction. So one of the things that I know was a focal point of this was talking about sustainability of the step system. The number one thing that we look at is the soils. The soils are the number one limiting factor on these systems. The soils that you have are what you can build around. They really are not replaceable, and it's one of those things that this area is the one that cannot be replaced in the future unless you get lucky and have soils nearby that you can purchase. CUD is more critical in evaluating the soils than anyone else in the state, as well as more conservative than TDEC in how we use the soils. I don't know of any area of the state that is as conservative as we are. We're currently, our maximum loading rate is 60% of what TDEC allows. And if the soils are not of the caliber to allow that loading rate, we reduce the loading even further. And then on top of everything else we're doing, about a year and a half ago, CUD hired our own soil scientists to help in these evaluations. Any new development that's proposed, our soil scientist goes out with the developer soil scientist to evaluate the soils. That way they're in agreement in what is being proposed and what the loading rate is that the soils will handle. Another thing that we do is require reserve soils. We require 50% reserves on every development. TDEC does not require any reserve soils for step system. That is a CUD requirement. And that I'm not sure why TDEC doesn't, because they do require reserve soils on septic systems for individual homes. So that is something that kind of conflicts in what they're requiring. The other thing is that we think about sustainability is the life of soils. We have a 25-year history now with CUD, and with septic systems, we've got generations of history and kind of how the soils are performing. One thing that, in comparison, our treatment is a lot more advanced than a single-family septic system. The water is virtually clean when it is dispersed into the soils, so you don't have a lot of solids that are clogging up the soils at that point. So these things can continue to be used over and over. Another thing that we look at in sustainability is the treatment. For nearly 25 years, the only thing that we have installed or allowed has been recirculating sand filters. This is an older technology that, while it treated well, has proven not to have a long life cycle. We've observed somewhere in the 20 to 25 year lifespan. So with these systems being up to 25 years old, we are now at the point where we're starting to replace them. The main issue are some of the components used to construct the sand filter themselves do not have a long life cycle, such as the liner and the chambers, and even the media itself, it gets used up over time. So when we look at replacement, and this is a picture of one that we've already replaced, we look at new technology with pre-manufactured systems. They're evaluated not just for how well they treat the wastewater, but also their lifespan. A minimum 40-year life expectancy is required to even be considered, and then on top of that is the quality of the treated wastewater. And what if? What if something happens? I know this is a bold statement. Our mentality is that failure is not an option. And everything we do, we try to give these systems the best chance to perform. And what we look at on design standards, we try to be more conservative. We know a lot more now than we did 25 years ago, and ultimately, CUD is committed to providing wastewater service to every customer in perpetuity. So that's the reason that we do what we do as far as being more conservative than TDEC and using practices that we have learned work and will continue to work. For each component, what about the step tanks? What happens if something happens? If you have a failure or an issue at one of them? Well, CUD owns and maintains all the step tanks. We pump out about 10 to 15 per month, and then the pumps that are in the step tanks that pump the effluent, we replace about 30 of those per month. CUD is also responsible to replace any tank failure. So if the complete tank, if something happens, if it collapses, that's going to be on CUD to replace. In 25 years, we have yet to have to replace a tank. What about the soils? I mean, I said earlier that this is the number one limiting factor. What happens if we have an issue in the soils? Well, the first thing is we have reserve soils. We can always install additional drip zones in those soils. With additional drip zones, it can give the systems or the zones that have been used over time a chance to rest and to heal. What we found is if we can shut a zone off for a while, it can have a chance to dry up and it becomes usable again after a period of time. The best offense is a good defense. So that's the reason on the front end during plan reviews, we are being very diligent in looking at the soils, the characteristics, how well they're going to perform. We try to do our work on the front end so that over time that these systems will perform the way they're supposed to. And then treatment. That's the one that most people think about, but unlike the soils, it can be replaced. We can see what's going on with the treatment. We can look at our reporting numbers to see if the quality of the treatment is diminishing, if there are physical characteristics that show us the end of life is coming. So we are constantly monitoring the treatment equipment, the sand filters, to see where we stand with those. We have several replacements in our capital plan currently on systems that I wouldn't say have failed, but they are nearing their end of life. It's one of those things that we have to continually look at. And then there is always the thought, what about a sudden failure where we did not see any symptoms? And that is something that's on the forefront of our mind. Recently, our board has kind of charged us with creating specifications to bid out a portable treatment unit. And we're already looking at and have some ideas where we're going to go. So we are working on that currently, and this would be something that's sitting there ready. If a filter were to fail, we could haul it on site and have it ready to go in a short period of time. Last result is always pump and haul. That is a very expensive option where if we get into many weeks or any kind of extended period of time, it would be very expensive very quickly. And that's all I have, and if there's any questions for any of us.
Commissioners, yeah, anything?
Does the urban growth boundaries, was it included in your slide, Alan?
No, that was just the city limits. The urban growth boundary doesn't really play a role in the boundary between CUD and the municipalities.
So it's still yours, as
It's
it,
still,
quote,
those are
yours.
still that's our territory to serve, yes.
If the urban growth boundaries grow and sewer's provided, you back out? And
Well, the sewer, so a lot of those 55% of, say, Murfreesboro, they get a bill for CUD water and Murfreesboro sewer. We send the bill out. We have arrangement with Murfreesboro, and similarly with Smyrna, so the customers just get one bill. It's just an efficient way to process that. So we haven't had a situation where we were serving a subdivision, say, with a step system, and the city came out to serve that area with sewer after the fact. The developers are usually working with the city to find out, will you extend the sewer first? And if they won't, then they'll talk to us about figuring out if there's enough soil there to have a step system.
Is reuse water ever going to be considered potable? The city of
Never
Murfreesboro
say
has
never.
reuse. Okay.
No, I mean, I think it's an option. We actually proposed it to, what's the one out there? Southern Harmony.
Well, not for reuse
No.
as drinking water.
Not for reuse of drinking water. No, we're talking about.
Irrigation.
Irrigation or whatever.
I'm thinking way down the road, Al, you may have picked up on it, is there ever, decades, centuries down the road, could the reuse be? Because I understand the water coming out of the step system, especially after it goes through the soil, is incredibly clean. I'm just curious.
Yes.
Currently with our water supply, and I know you said you got permits in place for new sources or added sources. What do we look like as far as quantity of water at our growth rate right now?
I think we covered that, our 2050 numbers, which we projected based off of the county's growth past and future based on, projections, is going to be about a 50 million gallon a day average usage, and then peak times during the summer and stuff, we're thinking at over 70 million gallons a day. So right now, we're treating right now, today, we probably pumped around 21 million gallons a day. And then we peak out in 24, 25. So we still got room under our current plant, but as you can see, as we continue to grow, because, I've been here 4 years, we were at 63,000 customers, now we're at 76. So, and, we're growing about 2,500 to 3,000 customers a year.
And the other question is, as you're pulling the water from the source and cleaning it for consumption, what kind of particulates are you finding? What are you things from anything from, I don't know what to ask, what kind of particulates would be in there, but like PFAS or other stuff, what kind of tests are going through, and how much of that is actually in the water originally that you're getting out?
So years ago, when they first did the first round of testing in the 2015 for PFAS, we got a slight hit, but it wasn't over any limits or anything. But that was the only time they tested. Now we're actually going through the process, and testing has been pretty well. So what we do is when we treat the water, we're taking out all the contaminants, we're taking out everything, we're testing it all along the way. We've got, and then the solids go, and then we land apply. We've got a permit to land apply the solids that come out of the water. If you haven't been to the water plant, I would feel free to reach out sometime. We'll gladly give you all a tour. It's a fantastic thing. Even though it's been added on 3 times, you can't tell that it's been added on. But you know, we abide by all EPA regs. So really, you're taking out you know, a lot of the solids, the suspended solids, a lot of nutrients and stuff that from the farmland and stuff like that. But we take that all out in our treatment process and everything. So.
I couldn't begin to give you a list of all
I figured it's
the regulations
unknown.
already.
When I started asking, I figured it was an unknown because there's just so many things.
You want us to use?
I know that
Okay.
I haven't seen any notices, we haven't heard anything, and I appreciate the efforts y'all do as far as not having any contaminants leak through, as far as we've had nothing but good, clean water from you guys. And I just want to commend that, and at the same time, ask to make sure how close are we to some of this, because things like PFAS have kind of been new on the radar to make sure we do deeper dive and with newer unknown numbers and trying to figure that out. So I appreciate that feedback. Sure. And I do highly suggest anybody who has not gone through that plant, go through it. But don't be surprised when you see the fish in the tanks. That threw me off.
Commissioner Cush?
Thank you. So, Roger, has the Corps ever just slammed their fist on the table and says, this is the maximum amount of water you're ever going to get, don't ask for anything more? And if they have, are we close to that number?
So I don't know if they've ever done that for sure. We're part of a group, the National Water Supply Alliance, so is Murfreesboro. Actually, Darren, I think, is still on the board. Darren Gore is still on the board there. But we go to those, with that partnership, we partner with the Army Corps. They're at our meetings. We deal with them quite a bit. And throughout that, we've been able to raise the awareness from the Army Corps because, you know, when they built all these reservoirs, you know, it was all for hydroelectricity. It was all for, you know, recreation. Water supply isn't even on the map, you know. So throughout the last few years of this, we've been able to raise water supply up the list. And we've also got into now, one thing that we're going to pursue with the other municipalities is they're going to have basically it's seasonal allowances, which we love, okay? So just so you all know, in 21, when we all signed, us in Murfreesboro and everything for our last allotment, because we went in with them last time, we got return flows. We were through the Army Corps, which means the water that they're treating at the wastewater plant, because it's going where? It's going right back in there. Well, they were never counting that as water, so we were taking it out, but they weren't counting as that as going back. So we were able to get that. So that kind of came out of this, okay? Now, when we go in this time, we're talking to them about seasonal allotments. They have it in their actual program, but nobody across the country has ever used it. So, you know, when do we need the water? We need it during the summer, right? So why don't they have seasonal allowances? And you don't understand most people don't understand that when we're talking about 10 million gallons a day in a lake the size of Percy Priest, you're talking about maybe a quarter of an inch where that water is going to go down. You know, they go per acre feet is how they measure it. And so it's not a big difference, but they still have to have flood control and things like that. So they never have. And, you know, we're always trying to get new things out of them. We've built the relationships. And matter of fact, last November I was in D.C. talking to the secretary back then. So always trying to build those relationships, and our legislators have done a good job. Desjardins and them have done a great job with them and making sure they take care of Middle Tennessee and especially Rutherford County. But you know, what would they do? They may at that time, you know, that's why we're looking at other options. And even if we get the Army Corps, I think we keep the other options to keep trying to build them, because you always want to have a backup, or you always want to have a different supply in case something happens or you get a contamination or something like that. So I think we're in good shape. Do I expect to get 50 million gallons? Probably not this run. Maybe they'll give us maybe they'll give us 40, and then we'll have to go back in a few years and try to get the rest. And maybe by then we've been able to make the law change a little bit. But we've also got an agreement we've tried to work with another utility. We'd have to run some water main, but we've already kind of gave them a letter of intent where we would take 10 million gallons a day from them as they're building a new plant. So we're making sure we're covered and the county's covered. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Peay.
A couple of things I want to bring up. First, I'm kind of disappointed you didn't bring this up, is the ISO ratings across this county. If you're not aware of what that is, it's basically where our fire departments are rated on fire suppression. One of the largest parts of that is water supply.
Correct.
Without your help, we wouldn't have near the ISO ratings, low ISO ratings. Basically, no ratings. If you got a bucket and the fire department to run, you get a 10. Murfreesboro City, I think now, maybe a 3. I'm not sure. The county, I know I was with Kittrell for many years and went door to door and helped buy a lot of hydrants from you guys and get them installed. But without that help, we wouldn't be able to get our insurance ratings down. For instance, we went from a 10 to a 5. And I had people calling me, telling me they were saving $800,000 a year. So I think y'all need, next time you do a presentation like this, you need to toot your horn on that.
all right.
Okay, now that was the good side. Now here's the other side. Sure. I want to talk about step fields. Now, I was on the county commission 25 years ago when you did your first step field. And I did some research across the county. They were being utilized in the Northwest, Seattle, Oregon, Washington, all over really. And almost all of the drip fields, unlike here, are being used for grazing animals and recreation. And the reason I bring this up, and I brought it up then and I'm bringing it up now, you got 82 systems out there now, I think you said, plus you got another 8 or 10 that you want to do, and you're having to pay somebody to upkeep and mow that. You know, that's one of the downsides of having that property. But most of this property is adjacent to homeowners. Some of it's adjacent to our schools. That property where you're using your drip fields, which is pure water, as you stated. Yeah, when I say pure, it's pure. It's cleaner than the Stones River, I promise you that, after going through the filtration systems and all that. But at least start and do a pilot or two on some of these areas to see, let us use them for recreation, see how that does. We need soccer fields. We need places our kids can practice baseball. There's some older folks like playing, I think, a game called pickleball, staying away from that myself. But, you know, guys, you would really be a help with the county and our recreation to be able to open these fields up for recreation in some places. Now, I would like to see at least y'all do some trials on that. And like I said, you do a little reading, you'll find that there are other states that have been doing this all along.
Again, go ahead if you want to.
Just real quick, a few things about that. And I've not been to any states where they were using that. Which I haven't been to all of them. I've been to some, been in Massachusetts, been Minnesota, Wisconsin, Alabama, several states, and I've not seen any using that way. But one thing we have to look at with this is, even though it is a soils area and it is an irrigation type equipment, this is still part of the wastewater treatment. And the soils are a very integral part. A lot of things, including the construction, can make the soils no longer usable, get compaction to where the water will no longer percolate through the soils. That's a real issue, and that's something where we even have developments where if they get off onto the soils with their construction equipment and everything, it may render the soils unusable because of the compaction. So those are things we have to look at. Another thing, even though we do UV disinfect, if that equipment was to stop working, then we would have the issues that it's associated with wastewater, with the pathogens and the bacteria, that kind of thing would be alive in that area. And it's not something that we think the kids need to be in, everything. If we have a leak on a line, if pipe breaks at times, and so we'll end up with an area with a wet spot that may surface, that kind of thing. And those are the type of areas that I don't believe the general public needs to be in, just because of the possibilities of what could happen. But I do understand it is hard to look at a lot of property there that seems to be unusable, but it is extremely important for the wastewater of the area. And even though we don't graze the animals, we do allow local farmers to cut hay on these systems. I'd say well over 50%, maybe even closer to 70 or so % of ours are cut by farmers for hay.
So how many times have you had a system fail like you're talking about, and you've got the 50% backup, right?
We do, and we do have systems that have failed. We've got one that we actually had to purchase more property because the soils were not what we thought. It was one of our earlier systems, and the mapping did not appear to match what we have now, and we've had to purchase additional property for that one. We have had that happen. We've got a number of systems where we've got areas where the soil does not take the water as readily as others. Again, some of the older systems before we had the quality checks, either by TDEC or ourselves. And some of those we are having to use the reserves, but so far, fortunately, that's not been the majority. That's probably 25% of the systems, if that we're seeing those issues.
I'd like to request that y'all invite me to talk to your board about this issue.
We will. I will. I'll bring it up to the board next board meeting.
Any other questions?
Yes. Just a general question. What's the average water pressure at the tap for a homeowner that you service? And then is there an amount with a certain water pressure that you are required to provide at the tap?
Okay. System-wide, of course, remember, we got 16 pressure zones, so it does vary a lot, but the average is right around 80 to 82 PSI, if you took all the customers and just, did the true average. Per TDEC regulations, we're required to have 20 PSI at the meter. And when we're designing, subdivisions, we require a minimum static pressure of 40, because once you have the fire flow introduced, that pressure is going to drop. So we have to have some room to keep it above 20 even during the fire flow event. So that's why we require a 40 PSI minimum. So some of the small systems that just run with a pump that's continuously running, variable speed drives and stuff that adjust the flow rate depending on the usage, we have some places in the system that are about 150 PSI. And on the low end, we're in the 30s to 40s in some places. So that's about how much it varies.
Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking into the future, we've got a 25-year history with step systems, but looking into the future, 25 years or more down the road, possibly more, when the forecast says that we'll have 750,000 people living in Rutherford County 30, 40 years from now. Right. Statistically, a lot of us won't be here 30, 40 years from now. But are you guys looking 30, 40 years from now as far as water supply, such as water tanks, towers, those kind of things? Are y'all looking into the future for water supply and what that might look like? Also, just a question. Through the planning process, when we get further and further out into Rutherford County, into rural areas, infrastructure, and I would consider water lines part of infrastructure. When the water lines are not sufficient to handle a certain amount of development, what's your plans to replace those water lines? And if you do so, how do you fund that? How do you pay for that? Who ends up paying for that? Is there some process that you guys have or are thinking about as it relates to us getting further and further out into the rural areas as it develops long-term into the future? I know I rattled on, and I apologize, Alan, if you don't understand what I'm trying to say, but looking, like Plan Rutherford that we've been looking at, takes a 30, 40-year look into the future, and are you guys looking 30, 40 years into the future too, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so right now, we're going out to 2050, so that's about a 25-year window with the immediate planning study, which is what the Corps also wants us to look at. We have a master plan that's in progress with our engineering consultant to evaluate what the needs are from storage with tanks and stuff, any new transmission lines. We have 14 tanks, I believe. There's a couple pressure zones that we need to add some tanks to, or they're in the, one is in our 5-year window of construction, I believe, and the other one is going to be looked at very soon because of the rapid growth in the Rocky Fork Allenville Road corridor, if you've been out there lately. There's a lot of growth out there from Smyrna's sewer expansion in particular drove that. Now, we haven't looked out 40 or 50 years yet, but I expect that will be, as we move further into this planning study, to say, okay, this gets us 2050, what's at least a little bit of glimpse beyond that. And that's, as Roger mentioned, get as much from the Corps as we can now and keep laying the groundwork, to get more, as well as these other entities that we would, have contracts to be able to purchase water or to further develop, groundwater supplies within the county.
So if you think of it too, Commissioner Phillips, we've grown just like the county has. CUD started off 4 different utility districts that were just trying to get water out to the county, to the rural areas, because the municipalities did not want to serve outside of their boundaries. So that's why they started those 4. So those first mains that we put in out in the urban area were small mains because we didn't have a lot of money, and so we're trying to run as far as we can to feed as many people, or to get as many people as we can. So now as growth has gone out and the county and the municipalities have grown out and growth has gone out, a lot of that development has, we have replaced mains with larger sizes. We have had, and if it doesn't, the way we go at it is if it isn't for the good of our customers, then developers have to pay for it, okay? Growth has to pay for growth. We just pay for our system improvements. But realistically, as that continues to grow, our systems get upgraded. That's where the fire pressures are getting better. I was up here a couple years ago in front of the Planning Commission talking with the fire department about, they wanted different pressures and they wanted hydrants so many feet and stuff. And again, it's going to happen, but it's going to be through those years of the growth and things like that. We're doing our best as they grow. And Alan runs our hydraulic model all the time for all these developments. And so we're doing our best to keep up with the growth and actually working with the developers and working with that to plan about the future and make sure we're going to have, and pushing that out to, I know with Plan Rutherford, you guys had out on the outskirts was more larger lots and things like that, which is how infrastructure goes, because you have the bigger ones in towards the towns and things. So, but we work with the developers. Like I said, in the last couple months, we've been to the Home Builders Association, we've been to the Realtors Association, talking to them and doing presentations to them. We want to work with them on how they want to do and how we can all work together for this, because it's coming. I mean, and we need to get help from them, and we want to try to help them, too. So I hope that answered your question, or if he need more specifics, he's the guy to do it. So.
No, most of the people that I know and that I've worked with for years, you guys included, are looking to the future of Rutherford County and planning for that instead of reacting for it when it comes. And that's what Plan Rutherford is trying to do, is to look to the future and plan for it instead of reacting. So those water mains, those water lines, those type of things are things that I know you guys are on top of, but I just wanted everybody else to know that you're working on those and looking into those. And there's such things as what Commissioner Peay was saying a minute ago, as it relates to fire protection and fire hydrants and those kind of things. They're all a vision of the future, and it's part of how how we plan for that growth and where that growth goes. So, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing, especially through the planning process and taking such a careful look at all the plots that come before not only the county, but before you, and making sure that they meet those standards long time in the future. I can remember, as Commissioner Peay said a minute ago, I can remember when we first started talking about a step system, we were talking about drip systems and all other kinds of things, and we didn't know, this sounds pretty good, and it's ended up being more than pretty good. It's ended up being really good. And I, as a planning commissioner, have never heard one complaint, not one complaint on these step systems that are working out there. It allows better use for the land, and it allows us to develop land that probably was not developable in the past. So once again, I really appreciate the job that you do and the partnership that you have with Rutherford County. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Piercy.
Do you pull water out of the East Fork of Stones River?
Where our intake is, the forks have all combined. So, well, I guess it's East Fork or West Fork. So yes, it comes out of the East Fork.
And then you pull water out of the Percy Priest Lake, right?
Well, that's all one and the same.
It all comes from the same spot.
Yeah,
They
it's
consider that the Percy Priest Lake, right at the mouth there where the stones, where our intake is at.
So you just pull from one spot?
we pull from one spot,
Correct.
yes. We have one intake.
Thank you.
Yeah. The Corps considers that the lake, but yeah, if you walk out there and look at it, you say, well, this is a river, not a lake.
Right.
I don't believe there are any other questions. So, gentlemen, we appreciate all of your information.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I meant to say in the beginning, Commissioner James had requested CUD come, and we finally arranged after several months of trying, we finally got him here tonight, and Middle Tennessee Electric should be here next month. Okay, Solid Waste and Convenience Centers, Director Wagener. Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is going to be an unusual meeting, report for me, because this will be my last report to this body and to the Commissioners. And I would like to start off really by saying thank you for iron sharpens iron. And this room has been pretty tough sometimes, and it's made me tough. You taught me how to control myself when I didn't want to control myself. You've taught me how to pause, and you've forced me to reflect on some of my ideas and decisions, to weigh them out to see if they were truly based off of ego or off of the best interest of the public which I serve. And I'm proud of the progress that I've been party to that's happened over the last almost 4 years, 3 years and 10 months since I took this position. When I got here, there was no organization chart in the solid waste department. It was one man and about 60 people. Everybody that worked at the county convenience centers was a part-time employee that was hired on with the idea and the promise that this was a lazy retirement-style job. The reality was that there were convenience center employees that were going home crying. Some were afraid to come into work in the morning, not because they would get yelled at, but because they had to pick up piles of trash in front of the convenience centers because of the lack of respect that the public had for the service that they provided. I had a driving staff that was at war with each other. They got to pass the phone around for weekend live calls during the weekend, and what they would use it as was a chance to get back at the guy that they were mad at from the week before. I had one-person administrative staff and nobody answering the telephones. This was for a community at the time that was over 300,000 people. It was absolutely unacceptable. And you all heard those those requests and those pleas through budget, through purchasing, through county commission, and the tide of that direction and trajectory for this department has changed. We now have not only full-time attendants, we have lead attendants. So we have managers of the stations. We have full-time attendants that work with them that are supplemented by part-time attendants. When somebody hires on to Rutherford County Solid Waste as a part-time center attendant, they're not hiring on as that's the end of their role here in Rutherford County. It's an entry-level position like it always should have been. They have the opportunity to grow if they wish with the county and have. The administrative staff that I have in place are all people that have been hired at other roles that have ascended into the current roles that they have and have excelled at every aspect of their jobs. The level of professionalism in this department, I put up right next to any other department within Rutherford County government. And I couldn't say that when I got here. They couldn't say that when they got here. I had men and women that were ashamed to do what they did for a living because of the way that they felt they were treated by the public. And we've changed that. We are public officials. We are servants to the people. And now I know that the staff in the solid waste department feel that way. They tell me they feel that way, that they respect their job, that they love what they do, that they come to work because it's a service that they can provide. We've done a lot of infrastructure improvements, some convenience centers, place to take all the garbage in the county, and probably for the next 40 years. That last month, gross profited approximately $96,000. Second month of operation, a success in the black in 2 months in there is unheard of in any business. I think anybody that's done any business in this room would understand that statement. I couldn't be more proud of the fact that the vision that we had for the first part of this plan, and that's the thing, this plan isn't over. Recycling and diversion is an absolute necessity in the plan. It is absolutely a necessity because the waste that we have to manage costs money and recycling is cheaper. And in a county that generates its revenue the way we do, you have to think about things like that or you're going to your constituents and asking for money. And I don't want to do that. Never wanted to do that. And every decision that I've been a party to that's been for this department over the past 3 years and 10 months has been about two things. One, is it the environmentally right thing to do? That's the first thing I'm going to make a decision on, because if it makes people sick, I'm not doing it. And the second thing is it a cost that they can bear? Those are the two things that we are. And that's probably why I got up here earlier to defend the 116 budget and the fact that that budget shouldn't be spent by anyone other than the person that's responsible for setting that budget. Those funds are allocated and decided and determined by a process that's been set forth within commission and approved by commission every year that sets forth the trajectory of the spending of capital expenditures and those things over the course of a year. Grants take matches. Matches need to be budgeted for. If not, they're budget amendments. And I'm not going to hand over a needed budget amendment to a successor. I'm just not going to do it. Not going to recommend it. Y'all can do whatever you want, and will as soon as I walk out of here, but I think it's a bad idea. We can operate without grant funds, and should. We can make this plan that's set in motion right now work without increasing the tax to the property tax holder, that can manage the waste that's generated by us post-Middle Point closure, and will. I've seen the curve. I predicted the curve, told you the curve 22 months ago, and it's come even, we've surpassed what I even anticipated would happen. And that's not me patting myself on the back. That's saying the math and the science are the math and the science. And that's why I was hired for this job, because that's what I do. And I'll say that sometimes I felt supported in that, and sometimes I've felt really cast aside when it comes to that. And there's going to be another man or woman that stands in this position. And all I ask of you is that you give them and every one of my colleagues in all of these departments that work for Rutherford County government the respect to know that we worked our butts off to be able to do the things that we do here for you. Support us. listen to us, call us, rely on us, and we'll back you up. You come up here without calling us, and you're not going to get backed up. And what gets you guys back in your seats to do what you do are the things that we do for the county. Remember that. Things that they do for the county. These employees. That concludes my report. Thank you all very much for your time this evening, and I wish all of you the blessed future. God bless Rutherford County.
Commissioner Peay.
I would like to make a comment. Anytime I call Bishop and needed help over in my area, I've always got it. We had a church in my area. Somebody decided to use this as a dumping ground, and he was able to get us some gondolas over there. And our people out at the workhouse, of course, went in there and cleaned that up. But things like that that are above and beyond, I just want to know that those things were appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. Planning and Engineering Director Doug Demosi. Are you awake, Doug?
Sorry?
Are you awake? Sorry.
Fine. Good evening, Commissioners. Hope everybody's doing well. Doug Demosi, County Planning Director. Just have a couple of brief reports for you tonight, our normal reports that we present every month. The first is our available lot inventory. You'll notice on that first file, the Planning and Engineering, not the report, but the subdivision report, you'll see that our total available lots as of the end of August is 919. That's down about 100 from this time last year, which was about 1,010. And it's also down from last month. It was a little over 950, so we've gone down about 30 to 35 lots or so. I anticipate that number probably increasing a little next month. There are a couple of subdivision larger sections that are going to be recorded probably here in the next week or so, just depending a lot on the building permit activity, which, those kind of go part and parcel together. So if there's no questions on that, I will jump over to our rezoning report. We just have one item for your consideration. We did have several items on the Planning Commission's agenda last month. However, only one is going forward, and that is the one from Waldron Enterprises. This is REZ 25-017, property located along Valley View Road. They are asking for a rezoning from agricultural residential to residential medium density. This property was zoned AR when the current zoning ordinance took effect back in January of 2013. It's received Board of Zoning Appeal approvals over the years for a corn maze. There's also an event venue on the property that operates under an agricultural exemption. These activities would be discontinued upon sale and redevelopment of the property. The applicant plans to purchase this property and have asked for rezoning to residential medium density, RM, which is similar zoning that surrounds it, for an additional section of the Chestnut Valley subdivision. There is a concept plan that's been included with your agenda materials. This is not a planned development. I want to make sure everybody is aware of that. So this is not a binding plan, but does give commissioners an idea on how they would move forward. If this application were to be approved, they would follow at that time the county's normal subdivision process with a preliminary plan, construction drawings, final plat. You'll see the concept plan does show access to Valley View Road on two separate locations. Depending on the scope of any proposed development, we could require a traffic study to see if any road improvements will be required. Being that's only going to be about 30 lots, any traffic improvements that would come out of that are probably going to be unlikely. However, we do have that option. Landscape buffering is not required between properties zoned RM, and the performance standards also would not apply. During the public hearing, several people did speak about flooding concerns in the area. There was also a speaker that was concerned about not seeing open field anymore back where they were used to seeing one. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission did have some questions about the proposed drainage plan. Staff did share at that time that this was something that we were already looking into. We stated that the new development could not create more stormwater runoff than what was already occurring on the property prior to the development, and that's with any development within Rutherford County. Past projects were discussed, and in certain situations, existing drainage issues may also improve the development after the development of the property. The subdivision process was also discussed. The Planning Commission did ask the applicant to meet with the neighbors to show them the proposed plans and to more clearly understand their concerns. The applicant has committed to having that meeting. That meeting is actually going to be next Tuesday, which is the 9th. I don't have the time exactly. I believe it's going to be at the Las Casas Community Center, as I recall. But it was also stressed that this is only the zoning was being presented and not the subdivision development. So if this is approved, the only thing being approved is the zoning. The subdivision plan itself would have to come through a different process. So after that discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval by a vote of 9 for and 1 against. And I'll be happy to answer any questions on that case.
Was this the one that had a public speaker show pictures that had his home was flooded?
Yes, sir.
Already?
Yes, sir, it was.
When you're looking at the map, which one was his location? Like, how close was it to this layout?
I'm not sure it shows on this, actually. It's this map that's here. It's actually a little further to the south. I forget the exact address, but the property was a little further to the south than what's shown on this map. But it was along Valley View Road, just a little bit to the south.
Okay, moving along.
That's all I have.
Move to approve his report.
We have a motion and a second to approve the report. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, thank you, Doug.
All right, thank you. Thank you, appreciate it.
Building Codes Director, Tanya Bell. Welcome.
Good evening. It's late. I'm hungry.
I bet.
All right. So, month of August, building codes issued a total of 399 permits. 62 of those were single-family dwellings. That's down a little bit from this time last year and also from last month. Why not? Do I need to screen? Okay. Okay. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. So we issued a total of 399 permits. 62 of those were for single-family dwellings, for a total revenue of $231,989.90. We completed 10,529 building inspections and 198 zoning enforcement inspections. And if there is no questions, I'll move on to development tax and school facilities tax. And we collected a total of $781,652.50 in school facilities tax in the month of August, and we had one development tax receipt for $750. For a total accumulative so far this year of $1,422,123.50 in school facilities tax.
All right.
And that concludes my report.
We have a motion and a second to approve the report. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we do not have a Highway Department report. Under other business, we have Vice Chair Phil Dodd.
Guys, I wanted to, I've talked to you guys on the phone about looking at a concept plan that TDOT has presented. I've been in communication with the City of Murfreesboro and Mayor Carr. This project was on his capital improvement plan that he presented to property management last week. The reason I'm still sitting down for this is we've been here 2 hours. Do you want me to table this, or do y'all want to spend another 10 or 15 minutes? I can table it for next month if.
Well, we're here.
You're free to walk out. Thank you, Steve. you're going to have to test my technical skills, and that would delay us. So guys, I've talked to you all on the phone. One reason I want to do this is Planning Commission over the last couple of months has had to either defer or deny projects because the intersections in the vicinity are already overloaded. The citizens come up and express concerns, and out of frustration, the Planning Commission says, well, we have no means to contribute to a fix to any given intersection. So I've been hearing that for some months. I've been interested in traffic and development, obviously. So this particular project piqued my interest when Director of Traffic in Murfreesboro, Jim Kerr, brought it to my attention. TDOT does partnerships. We've got one going at Epps Mill Road right now. We contributed $4 million, I believe, to a interchange expansion. That's probably 40 cents on the dollar at Epps Mill. Here, this came to my attention from Thompson Lane all the way out to Jefferson Pike, which is the gateway to our transfer station. This is a 2.5 mile project, I believe. The slides I have here and are on your SharePoint are, the one that's presented here is the beginning of the project that we would have contribution to. That's the Walter Hill Bridge out in Steve's district. That's the north side of the Walter Hill Bridge is the first station of this potential project. The project continues through the intersection of Jefferson Pike. And it probably presents better on your screen because you can blow it up. The project will have significant benefits to what's been a problem area for some decades. You can see additional turn lanes, stacking lanes, straight lanes, so it's quite significant. The job will terminate at what's now, it's not depicted when this photograph was taken by TDOT, is the driveway to the Public Health and Safety Building. So it would have a benefit to the Walter Hill School. It would help carry improvements to the highway further out to where we have the safety building and we have school property further to the north. It won't affect those positively now, but it gets the improvements much closer to those properties that we already own. An interesting piece of data that came with the report is the crash study, which I found interesting. Again, our component of this project would start at the Walter Hill Bridge, a couple little fender benders there. It would progress north to what's a much more crash-prone area. Steve, I'm sure you're familiar with Hedgeapple. And I hadn't done a count of the bubbles here, but this is a 3-year traffic study that had all of these incidences. So this, which again justified TDOT in beginning the process of, is this a job that could be put on their priority list? It's risen to the point on the priority list that the City of Murfreesboro, in conjunction with TDOT, have done concept plans. The concept plans were the previous 3 pages I showed you. In addition to concept plans, in conjunction with TDOT, the City of Murfreesboro and TDOT have actually budgeted the job. I'll go to the final budget. The job is projected to be somewhere in the vicinity of this $60 million. There is no decision being made tonight. Let me go back to that. I'm not asking for any decision. There's no vote. There's no motions. This is informational so that we start understanding the terminology of traffic, the terminology of traffic studies, the terminology of partnerships with TDOT, and we start entertaining and embracing the possibilities of partnerships with municipalities, City of Murfreesboro and Smyrna and Laverne in Eagleville even. And this was the first one that's come across the radar that has a dramatic impact on our constituents and on that intersection at the traffic station, at the transfer station rather. The way this works is TDOT asks for partnerships. If there's a county and a city that go together, TDOT finds that more attractive. The City of Murfreesboro's portion of this project that I've shown you that starts at Thompson Lane and goes to the Walter Hill Bridge is approximately $46,500,000. The city is contemplating in an application they submitted last week to put in 50% of that. So the city's committed to somewhere in the range of $23 million. In that application, the City of Murfreesboro just acknowledged that Rutherford County is aware of this and is looking at it. No commitment. I met with the Deputy Secretary to TDOT, Mr. Preston Elliott Preston last week, who said that it would be a great idea for Murfreesboro to just acknowledge that Rutherford County is aware of this project. The process is the applications are submitted. TDOT analyzes the applications based on partnerships with municipalities. They then will create what's called a short list, where TDOT will say, hey, we've got a job that's hit the priority, it's met the criteria to invest in. We have local municipalities that have partnered that will put skin in the game. And if those activities are attractive to TDOT, they'll do a short list. That short list will probably come out this winter, at which time, if we make the short list, if Murfreesboro makes the short list, we may choose to contemplate, do we want to contribute a portion of the county's expected commitment to the project? $12.7 million from the Walter Hill Bridge to the public health and safety building. It's suggested that we do somewhere around 50%. That's $6 million, $6.5 million contribution. The reason I'm bringing it now, trying to be ahead of time where there's no pressure, no sense of urgency, this isn't something we have to push out tonight and get to budget. But in upcoming months, we may find that we've made the short list. We may find that a $6 million contribution to contribute to a minimum $13 million project over time with inflation will be a $21 million project. And we've bought in at the original 50%. If we make the short list sometime in the spring, then there's TDOT and the partners will consider signing contracts. So from the shortlist time, perhaps in January, until spring, we will be able to start looking at contracts, be able to talk to Director of Finance. Is there a path to get here? Is there any interest or consensus among this committee, the Budget Committee, any other committee that may choose to look at this? So I just wanted to bring it to y'all's attention. These things are available. Traffic is the number one concern, equal to managing growth in the focus groups. Third, I believe, is solid waste. To repeat, the Planning Commission's having to defer projects now. Problems exist, there's no pathway to attack the problems. With partnerships with TDOT, as one example, the development community, the county, the state can partner in ways that we have yet to conceive of. To some extent, Jeff, it started with the developers agreement that Ernest Burgess is currently working on with Britt Murphy and Nick Christensen. This, I think, someday could segue into being a way for the county, being led by Public Works, to have a positive impact on the number one problem in focus groups, and that's traffic. So I ran through that quick. My expectation is this is perhaps something we could just put in front of budget, just to see it. Contemplate the terminology of partnership, contemplate what a concept plan looks like, have a look at a budget that TDOT's put together. How do they, from design to purchasing easements? It's a pretty thorough budget, very interesting to those who like numbers. Then perhaps the commission might want to have the traffic director of Murfreesboro just give a, what are we here now? I've been on for 10 minutes. Maybe we do 10 or 15 minutes at the county commission so that we're not behind the curve when opportunities come up in the future. Or if we get shortlisted, we may want to look at this in January or February or into the spring. So thank you, Chairman, for
Yes, sir.
allowing me to come up. And
Thank you.
If I can answer any questions, I see.
Commissioner James.
Can you go back to that picture where it shows where the project's going to end? Down Jefferson Pike, and zoom out a little? Because I might have it backwards in my head, where location-wise. Because where the Walter Hill Public Health and Safety Building is and Landfill Road.
This is where it ends. Is that what you asked for?
Yeah, and Landfill
The
Road.
red line that I applied here is the terminus of the job.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if there's a way that we should, or if it would benefit us to try to extend that down to Landfill Road.
Well, see, this is 231. So let me go back a slide.
I'm backwards, okay.
This,
That's where
Commissioner, is headed towards the east, towards Landfill Road.
That's where it was. I was backwards on the
Yeah,
cross.
yeah.
You had zoomed in so close, so
Yeah.
I don't have that picture.
That would be, oh, I'm sorry, I had the whole thing loaded. That should be, that's what's called a terminus. TDOT requires a terminus of some sort. In this case, it's Jefferson Pike, which tapers to our Public Health and Safety Building. It's not just like, oh, hey, let's push it out to Holly Grove Road, or let's push it to, TDOT's kind of locked in on those mile markers.
Was there any ability to straighten out the intersection?
I think that's Mike Hughes acknowledged when he heard about this, he would love to see some straightening, but it is apparently just about engineering a possibility to get that straight with the right-of-ways and the buildings and the school, et cetera.
And the last question I thought of would, have you taken this to the Highway Department, the Road Board, to let them look at it and see where they might be able to help with some of the costs?
I have not. I'm trying to recall what conversations I've had. It was brought up briefly in the quarterly Rutherford County Planning Department meeting that was held at City Hall last month.
Oh, that's state highway.
Correct. But to Commissioner's point, I do want to keep Highway informed of any of these kind of things. But to Commissioner Pierce's point, this is a 100% state route that it has a whole different set of criteria that would affect how we relate this job to the Highway Department. But ultimately, they want it to be a cohesive conversation from the Highway Department to the school systems to the state, to the Public Works on how to address. And the reason I want to keep this brief tonight is if we start here with a high-level concept of here are opportunities out there, then the great questions come up. Where can we extend it to? Or what buckets could we have to fund this? On and on. So
that was part of what I was wondering if you already kind of showed what this option has with the Highway Department.
Yeah.
To see, because it might come across where we're not crossing two state highways where they would be able to greatly impact the numbers for us.
Which is exactly the kind of questions that if we start this conversation now, we can start percolating. Budget can start percolating. What bucket? Michael Smith is aware of it just as conceptually. I don't think Greg is aware of this particular or our reviewing it tonight, anything like that. But every committee is going to have some input, and it may die. But could it one day, a project like this or the next project actually rise on the capital improvement plan to meet a priority level of some sort, and we choose to fund it? What are the benefits? What are the consequences? What are the rewards for that contribution? maybe not this one or maybe the next one, but I want to get this kind of, again, the nomenclature in front of us, so we're aware of that these things are out there.
So is your reasoning for starting this committee because the road department, and they don't answer to us, but they report to us?
Yes, I think infrastructure needs to start here with Public Works.
Yes.
And roadways, the only infrastructure the county commissioners can have any impact on. CUD has water and sewer, and et cetera. MTE's got electric. We've got roads.
Chairman Phillips.
Thank you. Bill has presented something that's kind of on the drawing board. And the reason it's on the drawing board is because of complaints. I shouldn't say that's the only reason, but a lot of it is complaints that we're getting from people who live in Rutherford County. Earlier this spring, Commissioner, I went to play golf at 7:30 at Cedar Crest one morning. Of course, I drove from Northfield Boulevard out to Cedar Crest, right down 231, and turned onto West Jefferson Pike there. What was so alarming to me is when I got to Thompson Lane, there was not a break in traffic, not a one-car break in traffic from Thompson Lane all the way back to I-840 on Jefferson Pike. It's not a break, not one car break. And I don't know if that's the way it is every morning when school is in session. I don't know. But those are the type of things that we talked about, grants and those type of things. You know, if we don't take advantage of this type of a grant, then we're not servicing, I think, our constituents, the citizens of Rutherford County, the way they need to be serviced. So the state sometimes makes these things available, but to make sure that that they're getting their biggest bang out of the buck is you need to pitch in a little to help. And I think that's what Commissioner Dodd is saying here, is that it's almost like one of those grants. It's a 75% grant or a 60% grant. We'll do this if you pitch in. If you don't pitch in, it won't get done. And for whatever the cost is, let's just say it's $5 million or $10 million, whatever the cost is, 10 years from now, it's going to be $75 million. So those are the type of things I think that that we also have to consider going forward. It's not going to be a situation to where can we afford to do it? The other part of that is, can we not afford to do it? So you know, the presentation that was just made is just one intersection or one strip of road that's going to need tremendous attention going forward. So this project, and I don't know how many of you have gone through Walter Hill. I know Commissioner Piercy does it all the time, and I know Commissioner Peay does it all the time. But that intersection right there, at one point in time, not too long ago, was named the most dangerous intersection in the state of Tennessee. There have been improvements made, and it's helped. But we're long overdue and being able to partnership with the city of Murfreesboro, they're willing to do it, and the state of Tennessee, and we need to partner with those guys. And I really appreciate us taking a look at this as it goes forward. But once again, we may not make the short list, but I think we've got the ear of the folks at the state level simply because of our explosive growth. And they've done a wonderful job as it relates and to doing certain things. How could you imagine that we wouldn't get by with Jefferson Pike from I-840 to Smyrna? This section probably is on the long-term drawing board as well.
Yeah, this one's on a shorter term. I mean, I think this one will come to fruition in 7 years.
Yeah, I heard that with Jefferson Pike 30 years ago. It's on the 10-year
Yeah.
list. And that's about how slow things move, but I would hope that this is a 10-year project.
And this one's unique, and others that I hope we look for is $60 million. Our contribution ultimately is 10% of if we partner correctly with. So thanks for that comment.
The thing that came to my mind is I was going in the opposite direction that the traffic was going. So they're coming, in essence, into town. And it's got Murfreesboro's attention, okay? And all of this is county, so it should have our attention too. It's a state road. I think it's got the state attention, it's got the city's attention, and really, it should have our attention
It's
too.
a clean demarcation at city limits too. And the city's picking up all the way through Cherry Lane, which has had some grade F intersections as well.
Any other questions?
So what are you needing from us?
Informational. I guess if anything, if this is intriguing enough that would Mr. Peay consider it being appropriate to bring up at budget, again, just to have awareness of these, if not this one, awareness of these in our future, where we're starting to hear that, again, the nomenclature, the terminology of partnership, the terminology of design, TDOT, interlocal agreements with the city. So
It's more than just the city. We need to get our highway department involved in the process.
Absolutely.
We also need to get our planning department involved in the process. So this could kick off all of those discussions at those levels.
So I'm going to admit I don't have the answer to the. I came up here and I risked saying giving a question without knowing the answer. I don't know where to take it next. Theoretically, if any other committee would want to hear it, kick it out there, look at this one specifically in months to come, and also this might prepare us to be ready for the next one.
Could you maybe do the same presentation at commission, and that way every committee wouldn't have to hear it separately, we'd hear it together?
If your time was not wasted and you think it would be of any benefit to the full commission,
Well, that's what I'm thinking. It would save time if, instead of going committee, then just go to commission, since we're aware of it now.
if
Just a suggestion.
Chairman's okay with that.
I think maybe the next step is to do something at planning, begin the communication at planning. We're in no time frame to hurry this thing through, so let's put it on the planning agenda to start with this fall over the.
Sound good?
Yeah. I do have a general question, and really it's for budget. Do we have a budget item or a budget folder for infrastructure projects like this?
We do have some items that are allocated for capital improvements, and they're moved into separate accounts. As far as specific money for this, no. There's not specific money out there. If you went to do something like this, you would have to look at what you had in the general fund available or a tax increase, depending on what the amount of money you're talking about.
And one thing that interested me, and perhaps speaking to budget in a similar fashion, is we start spurring those kind of thoughts of, is there a line item? How are we intruding on the highway department? Where do we need to back off? Is there already a bucket we don't know about? Or does it help will it help generate creative thought if it's presented at committee level,
right,
over time, or the full commission, or back up to planning and go again? I love the thought that we were spurring these creative thoughts that are going to die if they're not asked for some urgency or get some momentum behind them.
So do you not think the logical vision would be, as this traffic group that you're a part of grows, with the partnership of the city and developers and the TDOT, that we should have a line item in the budget for road/infrastructure.
I think ultimately that's my vision ultimately,
Yeah,
is
okay.
like, we've got a 177 for the schools at a capital improvement, and they've got a 5-year plan that they're presenting and brushing off and dusting up, and it's continuing to change. Of course, the 5th year is always 1 year out. Could this ultimately go there? But that's going to need a resource. Yeah. I would see a line item for, capital improvement line item, and it may have a subcategory of roads. Another one may be brick and mortar. So I do envision that someday. And
Just to be clear, or try to be clear here, best of my understanding is if we have funds that are committed, we'll move that into a separate category. That way, we're not dipping into that in case we come up with something. You know, once we voted and committed on doing, say, a project, and those funds will be allocated off into a committed area, separate from, I mean, it's still in the general fund, but it's committed for that capital project.
which is where this one would have to go. If it were going to hit in '25, it would have to go that direction, of course, as opposed to the long term, which I think is part of the synergy of this. Short term, we may want to look at this. Long term, it results in a line item, which I think is yeah. Thanks for your indulgence. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other business? We stand adjourned.